I ruined a 10-year relationship in the span of 48 hours. Most people think cheating is a long, drawn-out process. They think it involves late-night texts, secret lunches, and months of lying to yourself before you actually cross the line. And sometimes it is. But sometimes it is a car crash. It happens so fast that you don't even realize you are bleeding until you look down and see the wreckage. My name is Sarah, and for a decade, I was the girl who did everything right. I met Mark in college. He was studying engineering. He was stable, kind, and predictable. He was the guy you marry. And I did. We built a life that looked like a catalog page. A house in the suburbs, Sunday brunches, plans for kids. It was safe. It was warm. And I was suffocating. I didn't know I was suffocating. I thought this was what happiness felt like. Quiet. Calm. But deep down, there was a part of me that missed the chaos. Before Mark, there was Leo. Leo was the opposite of Mark. He was a musician, inconsistent, fiery, and completely wrong for me. We broke up 5 years ago because he wouldn't commit, and I wanted a future. I chose the future. I chose Mark. I buried the memory of Leo deep in the back of my mind, like a box of old photos you keep in the attic but never look at. Then came the high school reunion. Mark couldn't come because of a work trip, so I went alone. I told myself it would be boring. I would have a few drinks, catch up with old friends, show off photos of my perfect house, and go home. I walked into the gymnasium, smelling the cheap punch and floor wax, and within 5 minutes, I saw him. Leo. He looked older, a little more tired, but he still had that look. The look that used to make my stomach drop. He saw me, and he didn't smile. He just walked straight over to me. There was no awkward small talk, no asking about the weather. He just looked at me and said, "You look happy." It sounded like a question. I lied and said, "I am." He nodded, and for a moment, I thought that was it. I thought I had passed the test. But then he said, "Let's get out of here. This place is depressing." I should have said no. I should have shown him my wedding ring, turned around, and walked away. I knew Mark was at home, trusting me. I knew that leaving with Leo was opening a door that I had spent 5 years locking, but the adrenaline hit me. It was a rush I hadn't felt in a decade. It was the feeling of being wanted, not just loved. There is a difference. Mark loved me, but I wasn't sure if he still hungered for me. Leo looked at me like he was starving. We went to a bar down the street. We sat in a booth, and the years just melted away. We talked about everything. We talked about why we broke up. He told me he made a mistake. He told me he compared every woman he met to me, and they all fell short. It is intoxicating to hear that. It feeds your ego in the most dangerous way. I found myself complaining about Mark. I told him about the boredom, the routine, the feeling that my life was over before it had even really started. I was betraying my husband with every word, painting him as a villain just to justify why I was sitting there. The alcohol didn't help, but blaming the alcohol is a cop-out. I knew what I was doing. When the bar closed, Leo asked if I wanted to see his hotel room. He said he had a view of the city. It was the oldest line in the book. I knew there was no view. I knew exactly what was in that room. And I went anyway. Walking into that hotel room felt like stepping into a time machine. It was like the last 5 years never happened. The chemistry was explosive. It wasn't the slow, comfortable intimacy I had with Mark. It was frantic and desperate. In that moment, I wasn't a wife. I wasn't a responsible adult. I was 22 again, reckless and alive. Whispers. We didn't sleep. We spent the night trying to reclaim something that was already dead. When the sun came up, the reality hit me harder than the hangover. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching Leo sleep, and I felt a cold dread wash over me. The magic was gone. The nostalgia had evaporated. All that was left was a stranger in a bed and the realization that I had just nuked my entire life for a night of memories. I checked my phone. One text from Mark. "Hope you had fun at the reunion. Love you." I drove home in silence. I felt dirty. I took a shower for an hour, scrubbing my skin until it was red, trying to wash the guilt away. I told myself I would take this to the grave. It was a one-time mistake, a lapse in judgment. Mark never had to know. I could just go back to being the perfect wife, and I would be better this time because I got it out of my system. That was the plan. But guilt is a rot. It starts small and it spreads. When Mark came home 2 days later, I couldn't look him in the eye. He tried to kiss me, and I flinched. He asked what was wrong, and I said I had a headache. I started avoiding him. I stayed late at work. I slept on the couch. Every time he was kind to me, it felt like a slap in the face. I wanted him to yell at me. I wanted him to know, because his ignorance made me feel like a monster. 2 weeks later, the universe made the decision for me. I was in the shower, and my phone was on the counter. It buzzed. Mark picked it up to bring it to me. It wasn't a text from Leo. It was a DM on Instagram. Leo had sent me a message saying, "I can't stop thinking about the other night. When are you going to leave him?" I turned off the water and walked out to find Mark standing there holding the phone. His face was pale. He didn't look angry. He looked confused, like he was trying to solve a math problem that didn't have an answer. He asked, "What is this?" I froze. There was a moment where I could have tried to lie. I could have said Leo was crazy, that he was making it up. But I was so tired of carrying the secret. I just nodded. I didn't say anything. I just stood there in a towel, dripping wet, watching my husband's heart break. He didn't scream. He didn't throw things. He just asked for details. He wanted to know when. He wanted to know where. He wanted to know if I loved him. Whispers. I told him the truth. I told him it was at the reunion. I told him it was a mistake. I told him I didn't love Leo, that it was just a moment of weakness. Mark listened to every word, and then he walked into the bedroom, packed a suitcase, and left. Sighs. He didn't come back. There was no big fight, no dramatic reconciliation. He just ghosted me. He communicated only through lawyers. He sent the divorce papers a month later. He kept the house. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. Leo tried to reach out. He thought that now that Mark was out of the picture, we could be together. But I couldn't even look at Leo. He wasn't a lover anymore. He was a reminder of the worst thing I ever did. I blocked him on everything. Now, I sit in my apartment and I think about safety. I used to hate safety. I used to think it was boring. I thought passion was the only thing that mattered. But I realized too late that safety is a luxury. Safety is knowing someone has your back. Safety is waking up next to your best friend every day. I traded a diamond for a glittery rock because I wanted to feel a sparkle. The worst part isn't being alone. The worst part is knowing that I am the villain in Mark's story. He will meet someone else one day, and he will tell her about his ex-wife who cheated on him. I am a warning sign now. I am the trauma he has to heal from. If you are watching this, and you are feeling bored in your relationship, if you are thinking about texting that ex or meeting up with that person who gives you butterflies, pause. Stop. Ask yourself what you are really looking for. Are you looking for love, or are you just looking for a mirror that shows you a younger, more exciting version of yourself? Because that reflection isn't real, and breaking the glass brings 7 years of bad luck, or in my case, a lifetime of regret. Don't throw away your future for a blast from the past. It is never, ever worth it.